Tonight, 7 South Australians arrested in the nation's largest child pornography investigation. Major new rail projects in Adelaide's west and south, the centrepiece of a big borrowing state budget. And office workers flee as torrents of sewage flood a major city tower.
10 News with Rebecca Morse.
Also tonight, the smart plan to help South Australians make ends meet despite rising prices. How the Crows will cover the loss of Brett Burton up forward this weekend, and why it pays for astronauts to have a few handyman skills of their own. Thank you, Esther. A tram to Amy Stadium and a modern electrified train network is the centrepiece of this year's state budget. The $2 billion investment will plunge the state into more debt and take a decade to deliver. Our political reporter Daniela Rotorto is at Parliament House. Daniela, the speculation proved right.
Yeah, that's right, Rebecca, and I guess it all became rather obvious in the end. Transport is the sector that's been screaming out for investment, and it's been the only one that I guess has really missed out in the last few budgets. The Treasurer says he's been prioritising schools and prisons were in the budget 2 years ago. The big hospital plans were unveiled last year. But make no mistake about this budget, it's all about setting up for the next state election.
Kevin Foley's 7th budget not only had a campaign slogan but election-style ads to boot. Little tax relief, it's all about big spending.
This is a budget that is rebuilding South Australia.
$2 billion will, over the next decade, deliver a tram line to the refurbished Amy Stadium, Semaphore and the Port. The first step, extending the line to the Entertainment Centre by 2010. Our train system will also be electrified. The Outer Harbour line first in 2013, Noarlunga a year later. The Gawler line is still 8 years away. The train to Belair misses out. Cash too for 50 new electric trains and more buses.
We always knew that we had to confront transport. We knew, and it was simple because we would have been almost the last sort of city in the Western world that would be operating diesel trains.
There'll be a modest rise to public transport tickets, 90 cents more for a multi-trip. But registering the family car will cost an extra $35 a year. To keep business happy, payroll tax will come down another fraction and will get a more competitive threshold than Victoria. First home buyers get an extra $4,000 in their pocket, but a stamp duty concession has been scrapped. The government is reaping $4 billion in GST this year, $90 million more than hoped. Property taxes are still at windfall levels.
We've got the balance right. Now, you know, if Blind Freddie can do it, good luck to Blind Freddie.
The net operating surplus is $160 million, but this budget is underpinned by big borrowings.
$5.2 billion of debt. It's nearly twice the state bank debt that Mr Rann gave us. It's almost, in fact, it's over half the total debt Mr Rann left us in 1993 when he was Deputy Premier.
Health gets a further $460 million to keep up with hospital demand. Economic growth will slow, but the Treasurer is confident of a bounce back.
Kevin Foley knows you can't please anybody. You can't please everyone, as Kevin Foley would say, and business is happy. But teachers, doctors and other public servants say there's nothing in it for them.
The big-ticket train and tram upgrades have been warmly welcomed across the board, but slugging motorists more for car registration has not.
People will struggle. We've seen such a significant increase in the cost of living over the last couple of months, increases in food, increases in petrol, increases in house pricing.
The top end of town very happy with payroll tax cuts for the second year in a row.
Overall, this is an outstanding budget delivered by a Labor government.
But some say there's been too much focus on business.
This is a dark day for workers today in South Australia in a government that promotes itself as a pro-business government who has today become a pro-business, anti-worker government.
Unfortunately, pensioners and retirees are not the big winners in this budget. They'll be terribly disappointed that there's no increase in concessions.
Doctors and nurses welcome the $460 million injection into health, but say it's only a drop in the ocean.
Due to the increases in activity levels, we believe that this just simply maintains the status quo and there will not be any increased capacity to see or treat additional patients or clients.
The Public Service Association furious with the Treasurer's admission jobs are likely to go to achieve savings.
There is no way you could build the rail systems, the tram systems that the government is talking about wanting to build if you don't have engineers in South Australia.
Teachers say public education has been abandoned and they're gearing up for a full-day strike.
What we see is just a re-announcement of continued programs. We don't see an increase in funding for public education.
Gemma Chapman, 10 News.
Perhaps this will be remembered as the budget for footy fans, a refurbished AAMI Stadium and a new tram to get them there. But that's a good 7 years away and it's taking big borrowings to deliver all of this. Rebecca?
Thank you, Daniela. Political reporter Daniela Rotorto, and she'll update us later in the bulletin. Viewing the day's top stories, 7 South Australians are among 90 people arrested in the nation's biggest child pornography investigation. 1,600 people were evacuated from the Telstra Tower in the city today after a burst sewage pipe flooded several floors. And Treasurer Kevin Foley has promised $2 billion over the next decade for major rail works in the west and eastern suburbs. Today's state budget includes a tram line to AAMI Stadium, Semaphore and the Port, and electrification of the Outer Harbour and Noarlunga lines. With more, we're joined by political reporter Daniela Rotorto from Parliament House. Daniela, is the Treasurer happy with his day's work?
Yeah, very much so, Rebecca, and he isn't being modest either. He calls this the budget that rebuilds South Australia. Now, this latest transport spend, don't forget, this is coming on the back of other major projects announced in the last few years. We've got super schools, new prisons, and the $1.5 billion Marjorie Jackson Hospital, which is just down the road. Now, all of these projects have very long lead times and they won't be delivered until the middle of the next decade. But importantly, construction on all of these projects will be well underway before the 2010 state election. Kevin Foley has made much of the fact that in the last few years he's eliminated debt. So what's he doing now? He's ramping it right back up. Big borrowings and debt to fund these major capital works. But Mr Foley's justification, he says today's generation shouldn't have to necessarily pay for all of the projects that will serve this state for the next 50, maybe 100 years to come.
You can't build and underpin the social and economic fabric of your state without prudent, cautious borrowing, and that's what we're doing.
For the Liberal leader Martin Hamilton-Smith, he's taking some of the credit for this, in fact much of the credit. He says he's been talking about transport infrastructure since he came to office a year ago.
We have been calling for electrification of rail for years. We said we would do it in my master plan for Adelaide. We reiterated it several times. They scoffed at the idea and said it couldn't be done, and now they're attempting to do it through borrowings.
So borrowings, I guess that's the big key to this year's state budget. But Kevin Foley assures us he's called the ratings agencies in New York. They say our AAA credit rating isn't under any threat. Rebecca, I guess that's all from us here tonight at Parliament House.
Thank you, Daniela. That's our political reporter Daniela Rotorto from Parliament House.